Hello friends, and in this video, I will try to cover the second exam content outline, that is people, and I will try to relate it with the already material or that is available in the market, and we will try to make a sense out of it. I'm more of a visual guy. I like to draw a few things. I like to make journeys and try to make a sense out of it. Unless a thing is simple enough for me to understand, I don't think so. I can teach it to anyone. So I have been working for a long time. So I would say even 10 days. So 10 days is a long time for me to make it simplify. So I'll try to make it as simplified as possible for now on. As we move, I will try to make it more simpler. So the second content that we should focus is basically related to process. So we already had 49 processes before, 5 process groups, 10 knowledge areas. We are already familiar with these things, that 49 process group chart. So what does the now this process mean? Is there anything new that we need to understand? The answer to this question is yes and no. PMI has actually spin the dice. So let me just put it in the context what we already know, and let's see how we can make it or map it to the new content outline. We already know that if there's a project, we need to have three baselines: scope, schedule, and cost. Triple baselines. It has to be there. And combine these three baseline is known as performance measurement baselines. And we know we have to have plans, like the major plans, project management plan, having all the branches as risk, scope, schedule, cost. We already know that quality, resource, communication, stakeholders. And we have journeys of them individually. I have already made journey of quality, so go through that quality journey, go through resource journey, maybe risk journey, communication journey. So these are the some processes. Now let's go and look at what exam content outline has for us. So exam content outline says execute project with urgency. This is the just the other name of, like, we need to do some kind of execution. I would say integration. This belongs more towards integration. If I can put integration here, then manage communication, it belongs to the communication domain. So we have assess and manage risk, it belongs to risk. Then stakeholder. So we have communication, we have stakeholder here. We have risk here, and we have the execution part of execution. With the different terminology, of course, yes, we need to learn some of the few things to understand how we can basically do that, but we will work on that too. Okay, just let me make this small. Yeah. So then plan and manage budget and resource. The costing chapter as well as the resource chapter is there. The resource processes are there. Scheduling, quality, scope, integration. Now here you see even the word is integrate project planning activities. So we have integration, manage project changes, perform integrated change control, the famous the journey of change request, procurement. Then we have artifacts. Yeah, this is something different. Artifact is nothing more like a living document. Any document that is being updated continuously. So it's just the other name of how to control the version and configuration. But I would say let's put it as a new domain. Let's a little bit be generous on this and put it a new domain. Determine appropriate project methodology. Here we need to see agile methodology to use or predictive methodology to use. Then project governance, that is something that was not present there. So we have so far these two areas. Okay, manage project issues. Of course, in the risk, we were managing issues, ensure knowledge transfer. Remember, manage knowledge, where the lesson learned register was being produced And then close out. In close out, we have four output, and one of them was project documents update. The second was OPS update. So that's all about that. Plan and manage project closure, the closeout. So in the process domain, we only have like two topics, and I'm not going to touch it right now. What I'm going to do is like I will take this opportunity and work more on some of the new areas that we need to understand. But before going there, just one more time, just to make more sense of it, you don't need to go and understand through the exam content outline. You just need to make a journey of your own processes. You have to have three baselines, the three triple constraints: scope, schedule, cost. Then you need to understand quality. You need to understand communication. You need to understand how stakeholders are managed, how basically you manage the risk, how you manage the resource, and how procurement is being done. I already have made journeys of all of these things with tools and technique. Many people are saying that tools and technique have become obsolete. I strongly disagree. I have seen the ATP content. I know the ATP content thoroughly, and I know that like tools and techniques have changed their shape, but still you will see brainstorming in a different way. You will see other tools and technique in a different way. Tools and technique will be there. They will not be asking directly questions about tools and technique, but keep this in your mind that you will need to understand more tools and technique as compared to less tools and technique. So don't just get afraid. Let's move and see what we need to basically understand in the new domain. In the new domain, actually two things has happened. We have predictive environment and we have agile environment. We also had agile like 2% to 5% before, and predictive in exam 90 to 95%. But here we will have 50-50%, 50-50 both. People say this is more towards hybrid, but I can say with a surety that I would move towards more of an agile. Even it's an hybrid, I will say it's not predictive, so it's agile. So in agile, what you need to know. Agile is more of a subset of lean. Agile is a subset of lean. What is lean? You need to remove the waste. This is the key of lean. Lean was basically made by Toyota. Remember that Toyota cars, the Prius, all the Toyota's production system basically is made on this methodology of Toyota production system that you need to remove the waste. There are six to seven type of waste in which leans deal, and Agile has basically adopted the lean methodologies. In Agile, the most important methodology that you will see questions will be Scrum. Then we have XP, Extreme Programming. This is specifically to softwares. If you study it, it will more about coding and all those things, refactoring, all those things. Then we have Kanban, and of course, we also see Lean question in the exam. For Lean, we will mostly see value stream mapping. For Kanban, we will have to go to Kanban board and flow. It is very easy topic, very easy topic. I would say if you have gone to the previous training, it will not take to understand more than 5 to 6 hours. So if you have understand predictive environment before with the help of journeys and the agile environment, this Scrum, XP, Kanban, and Lean, you can easily clear the exam. It's not that much difficult if you understand and do the good questions. Yes, it is hard, but not that much difficult. With good amount of practice, you can clear it. So let's just move towards Scrum and look few of the things of Scrum. Scrum is a methodology which utilize basically adaptive life cycle. It has iterative plus incremental methodology in it. Iterative means repetitive, incremental, whereas short deliveries. So the first and important thing is that in Scrum has three empirical processes, and that is inspection. Inspection is very important. Frequent verification and validation is very important. Then adoption. and transparency. Action, adoption, and transpiration. This is a three empirical process of Scrum. You need to understand this. If you heard a word about empirical, empirical is basically just like the empirical of earth is earth, fire, air, water, oxygen, things like that. Or empirical of water is this hydrogen and oxygen. Empiricals of Scrum is inspection, transparency, adoption. If I can say that Scrum is basically standing on these three things, it wouldn't be that much wrong. So it has to be inspection, the processes has to be transparent, and it has to be adoption. It has to be adoptive according to the requirement. Why it is this? Let's go to the agile, because Scrum come from the agile. Agile have four values and 12 principles. Agile has four values and 12 principles. Values are the more fundamental that I would say you need to know by heart. Principle, not that much, but you need to understand in your day-to-day work. So, what are values? Let's focus on first agile value. The first and the most fundamental value is customer collaboration. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. This means we prefer customer collaboration as compared to contract negotiation. The second is I'm not sure about the exact number, like which one comes, which second, third, but working software over comprehensive documentation. Like working software is the measure of progress here. That's why we have a terminology known as minimum viable product, which I will be going through later on. So then we have respond to a change, respond to a change, even in the late phase. So you, if there's a change, you do it. Does not matter. You are here to provide value to the customer. Frequent, we will see in the principle, like frequent delivery and customer satisfaction is simply the most important. That we also see here. And the fourth value of Scrum, people and processes. Sorry, individual and interactions. It's not people and processes. Individual and interaction over processes. This means they prefer individuals and their interactions. I'm not going to the exact wording of those values. Basically, I'm giving you the main benefit, the thing you need to understand. So let me just simplify the values again. The values of Scrum. So the number one thing is that customer collaboration is the key. You need to satisfy the customer. You need to give a minimum viable product, working software. We don't like documentation. Documentation is the last thing that you need in Scrum. You respond to the change. Whenever you have a change, you respond to the change. And people and processes like individual interactions, people working together, the co-location is the key. Individual and interactions is the key. So these are the four values, the core of Agile, and these have been adopted by Scrum. These have been adopted by all the systems. So I will get back to the Scrum. Just let me just go through these values and then let me just go to the principles. So let's just see what are the principles of Scrum and how we can understand them. Principle, I would say 12 principle. These principles are actually very near to the values from my point of view. The first and the most important principle is that, like, highest priority, what is the number one priority, is to satisfy the customer. Customer is the king. We need to satisfy the customer. How? By continuous delivery. We give them continuous delivery. Remember, I just said that working software is most important. We have to make a minimum viable product, the product that can easily run in the market. So customer collaboration is the highest priority. It is the highest priority in the agile. This is the number one principle. Number two, they, since it's an agile, they welcome change. Even even in the later stage, let's say, like, we are building a product and that product is not relevant, or the competitor has made a product that is more relevant. So what to do? Discard the product, change it, modify it, because we need to give value to the customer. We need to give the value. So accept the change. So we harness change for the customer competitive advantage. We need to give value to the customer. Now the third principle, it goes to basically giving the value. Deliver working software frequently. Deliver frequently, I would say. Deliver frequently. Working software, maybe couple of months or even a shorter cycle. That's why we have iteration from 1 to 4 weeks. And we also have release, which we will focus later on. Then, very important thing, a new concept, especially for the people who are working in the traditional environment, business people must work with the project people, because business people have an insight of the project. They must work with the project people so that they can give that insight throughout the day, throughout the working time, whenever it is possible, actually. No? Then we have another principle, team. Build teams around motivated individual. Build teams around motivated individual. If your team is not motivated, then you cannot do. If your team is not motivated, they cannot do. So build team around motivated individual, and very important, give them an environment to make mistake. Give them environment, good environment. If you see all the principles which we are studying, and if you see exam content outline, what the PMI has made, it is actually being reflected with these new principles. So the new exam is more towards agile or agile principle, because they make more sense to me. At least it makes more sense to me. The next principle is a very important, and I strongly agree with that. The most important and the best and easiest way of communication is face to face. You see, even this is the like second most effective way or third most effective way. I'm recording the videos and guys are going to see, and then you can post the comments and we can have a conversation. But what will be the better way? If we have a video conference, or even better than that, if you are sitting in the room and we are having discussion about that, so that will be the most effective way. So that's what Scrum, that's what Agile say. Face-to-face communication is simply the most important and number one way to communicate anything. Then the next one is just like working software is the measure of progress. Like we don't care about documentation that much. Working software is the measure of progress. I am saying again and again, we don't care about documentation. This does not mean that we don't do documentation. In Agile, we do documentation, but at the last responsible moment. Now, the principle number 8 is very important. I really like it. Instead of like, for example, if you are like preparing for PMP exam, what is the best way? The best way, put down in the comment and do write me what is the best way to prepare. The best way is sustainable progress. Like what I recommend, if you want to do PMP exam, study daily for 2 hours, 3 hours for 2 months, and you can do easily PMP. Maybe in the last days, go for 4 to 5 hours where you have to do mock. Apart from that, sustainable progress is the real progress. So, Agile project says that the project must be able to produce sustainably, infinitely, and the sponsor and all those people should work together. So, let's move towards the principle number 9. The ninth principle is more towards quality. I would say that continuous excellence to the detail is required. Like you keep on doing the work and keep on improving it till the code or till the things get better. So I say that it is more towards quality. Even in the normal environment, keep on working. It has embraced the Kaizen, continuous and never-ending improvement in that extent. The next principle is like I would say my favorite, simplicity. What is simplicity? the art of max the art of not doing the work. You see, I really love not to study a lot of things, just go directly and do those things. That's why I made all those journals. That's why I keep on making all those videos, that you don't have to go and study those big books. You can watch those videos, you can make your own notes and just get one good books, and you can actually clear the exam easily. And with that, if you can do one good mocks, that can help you in clearing the exam. So simplicity is the key, art of maximizing not to do the work. The 11th principle is about self-organizing team. Like the best architect, best design is made by who? By self-organizing team. Everyone is accepting, like if the teams are self-organizing, if the teams are motivated, they can work together. And the last principle of agile, since it has 12 principles, is more towards sprint retrospective, like reflection. I would say sprint retrospective. At regular interval, team like check their processes and see how they can improve and how they can basically improve them. So let's just review these 12 principles. I know it has been a lot of them, so let's review them. The first principle is customer, like the continuous collaboration with the customer and produce a minimum viable product. Working software, let me see how many we have. Like one for software, second for software, welcoming change, and then we have working software, 5 sustainable progress, okay, quality. So we have 7 principles out of 12. We have 7 principles that basically tells us how to do work, how to do work. Okay, working software, simplicity, all those things. Then we have principles around team. Let's count them. Okay, well, business people, 1, 2, then we have face to face, 3, then we have 4 and 5. So we have 7. So these are the two things that we need to focus. Like it is talking about 7 principle about how to develop a software and 5 about a team. If I can put agile in this framework, agile works with co-located team, and these individuals are motivated. Good, in order to have motivated, they need to have a good environment, and they are self-organized. Self-organized means they can take their own decisions. So this is all about agile teams, and of course they have servant leadership model. And software, if I can have a software, for software we need to have working software is the key, continuous pace, simplicity. We have to have need to do less work as much as possible. Then we have to have a technical excellence, quality is the key. We need to give frequent and small deliveries, and we need to basically have a minimum viable product. So 1, 2, almost 7 there. So these are the principles of agile in the most simplified form. So let's see how this is encompassed in Scrum. So Scrum is one of the framework that Agile utilized. So let's see how Scrum utilized this framework. Just 1 second. Okay. What happened in Scrum? First of all, the biggest thing is that you have a product vision. You have a product vision. What does the vision says? What you are going to produce. What you are going to produce. So vision is more like a big thing. What do you want to do with the entire product? How that product is going to produce? What the complete criteria to see what is the real thing. So that is the big picture. So that is vision. So you make a product vision. So with the help of product vision, once the product vision is there, it is approved by sponsor. It must be approved by sponsor. Then you have product roadmap. Product roadmap is basically how you make that vision possible. You break down that vision. You break down that vision, and you can utilize story map for that technique. There are many techniques to make product roadmap. Story map is one of the technique. What happens in story map basically? Story map make this as the first, it make backbone, the major structure that is required in the project. Then it make walking skeleton. These are the two things that are required. Like just like a human body, the backbone, the most important feature, the walking skeleton, the features on which the product will stand, and then the releases. What what releases we can get. Generally, these are combined into one part. Generally, a project has one to three releases maximum, and the complete project is divided into release. So I can say that from product vision to product roadmap, then the next level is release. From the release, basically you make user stories. I'm not going into extreme detail of Scrum. I'm just telling you what you need to know for your exam point of view. You make user stories, and combination of user stories, all user stories is product backlog. This is the basically thing that you need to produce. Product backlog. Let me just give you an example of user story. User stories are short stories. They are written on the card, 3 by 3 card, and just like this. And on the user story, in the card you write down, like for user stories, remember this 3C: card, confirmation, and conversation. Card, confirmation, and conversation. What happened? You write down a small user story. Actually, a user write down a user story on it in this format most of the time. As a user, I want this. I want as a user, whatever the name is, I want this function so that. So you see, sorry, so that. As a user, Amir, I want to make this video so that I can teach Scrum. So you can also say as a user, Vakar can be your name. I want to watch this video so that I can learn Scrum of this process. So this is a user story. It can be in any form. You write down all the user stories and you make a product backlog. So once the product backlog is there, so you get a product backlog. So product backlog is there with all the user stories, all the user stories. So the product owner comes. Product owner is the basically main person who is responsible to deliver business value. To deliver business value. He represent customer. He is the part of the project development team, but he represent customer. Okay. So he prioritize the product backlog. There are many techniques to prioritization. I highly recommend Moscow. Must have, should have, could have, would have, or 100-point dots, or red, green, yellow, whatever the technique you can do. So in the prioritization of the product backlog, even the customer can come, stakeholders can come. With the help of them, they prioritize the backlog. So once the product backlog has been prioritized, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. Now product backlog has been prioritized for the value. The development team, the development team will come. The development team will come and they will select the user stories, the most prioritized user story, and they will check the effort on it. So in sprint planning meeting, which is mostly attended by product owner, scrum master, and development team, the development team decides how to do the work. They break down the user story further into task, and they sequence the task, how to do the task A, task B. Now this sprint planning meeting, only the team is deciding how to do the work. Team is deciding. Team is deciding which user story they will divide to which level. Now, very important point, once they divide the user story, how they basically estimate the user story. We didn't cover that. Estimate user stories. It's a very funny topic. Estimation technique. We have heard about the estimation analogous parametric. Here we use t-shirt size estimation. T-shirt size estimation. Fib large, medium, XL. Like team can choose anything, any number, even jelly beans, even the size of this pen. And like this user story, the size of this pen, the other user stories are double the size of that pen. So no, normally they choose affinity estimation to estimate with the help of t-shirt sizing actually. Affinity estimation. So affinity estimation is one of the technique that you can utilize. Then we also have rapid techniques like planning poker. It's a very interesting technique. Like actually, people put out the card and card have Fibonacci series on it. 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13 number, and they basically discuss like why they choose this estimation or those estimation, but actually these two are mostly used. Then we also have wideband Delphi, that is also used for that, but let's not go into that detail and lost the sight of the main thing. Okay, so user stories are estimated, product backlog is ready, then sprint planning is done, all the user stories are estimated. Now, once the planning is done, the important thing that I missed was sprint goal. The sprint goal must be cleared once the and it must be shared with the stakeholders. Customer collaboration is the most important and fundamental thing. So the sprint goal must be shared with the stakeholder. Once the sprint planning is done, it must also be shared with stakeholder, like what can be expected and all the definition of done. Like we already said, like user stories are written on card with 3C cards, conversation. With the help of conversation, you basically confirm how you can sure that this user story is ready. So definition of done must be agreed, and it must be agreed between and product owner and development team. So now the remaining responsibility lies on the product owner, that he communicate with the customers because he's the customer representative. It's his job. It's his job to talk to the customer that this user story is ready or not. So basically he communicate that. So once that is done, then we go to our Scrum cycle. In after sprint planning meeting, we have daily scrums. What is daily scrum? The most important thing in scrum. Daily meeting, 15-minute meeting. People are standing there. You can also call it as daily stand up. Some author do says that actually in XP it is said that daily stand up we have 15 minutes and only three questions are asked. What have you done yesterday? What you will do today? And is there any roadblocks or impediments? Roadblocks in your way? So only three questions are asked, and the development team basically asks to each other. Scrum Master is a silent observer. He's there just to ensure the processes are being followed. Product owner can come, but he has to be silent. This meeting is by the team, for the team, to ensure that the team is doing the proper thing. So if there's any follow-up questions, if there's an impediment, for example, let's say a risk is highlighted by any team member, and there need to be a follow-up discussion, it will happen after scrum, it will not happen in scrum. So this is important, that discussion will happen after scrum, not during the scrum. Only three questions will be answered there, preferably the the area in which the scrum meeting happen, it should be in like where we have information radiators. What is information radiator? They are basically giving the informations. They are charts, burn up, burn down charts which give the informations. So information editor, if I can make, It can be like burn down chart. What is a burn down chart? Here you have time in Oz. Okay, I also missed that thing. Ideal time. User stories are basically estimated in ideal time. What is ideal time? We estimate that there will be no distraction, nothing, and we let's say if we say that the user story will be completed into 3-4 days, that is an ideal time for a user story, 3 to 4 days, and we consider there will be no distraction. A person will continuously working for that. If we have estimated 6 hours, we'll continuously work. If there will be no tea break, there will be no phone calls, no distraction. So we write hours on one side and then we write user stories. So 30 user stories, 15, 20, 10, 5, 1. And we have ideal burn down chart. And make, sorry about my time. Okay. Then we have actual burn down chart. As we move along the way, this burn down chart basically track the velocity. Are we going, if it is upside, this means we are lagging, we are behind the schedule. If this is downside, this means we are doing good, we are going to complete the goal before. If it is near to it, this means we are near to the basically it. So it's an information radiator. Similarly, we can use burn up chart for the same purpose. In burn up chart, here we are basically moving in descending order. Burn up chart is more of a easy, like you can see as you move, it is progressing. And one important thing, if there is a scope change, burn up chart can also show that. That's a downside of burn down chart. It's a burn down and it has a downside that it does not show the change in any kind of scope. Whereas it does show if there's any kind of scope change. Then we also have risk graph. Risk graph, we can also add risk here, and risk profile is very important in it. Like we see how the risks are moving, which risk I have highlighted, and we can have a cumulative flow diagram, CFD. Cumulative flow diagram basically show how much work has been, let's say this work has been done, work done. If I can highlight this, this is the work in progress, WIP. This is work to do. So cumulative flow diagram can show for the work, how much work needs to be done, and what are the cumulative risk, the combined risk. We will go into further detail about this. In this video, I'm just giving you an overview of all these things, cumulative flow. So that will be done here. So these are all those information radiator that you can put where daily meeting is being done, so that if a stakeholder comes, if a team member want to see anything, they can have charts and all those things as an information radiator, just to know where we stand and these things like that. Let me show you my slides, actually my PMP exam slides. These are the information radiator. So this is information radiator. We have also a concept of information fridge, which I'm not going here. So these are information radiator. These are showing you the information. Sprint burn down chart, sprint burned up chart, interpretation, Kanban chart, things like that. These are all information radiator. So you also got a sneak peek of my course with this. Okay. So once we are done with that, these things are done. Daily scrum is done. Then we move towards the next thing. The next thing, like you keep on doing this thing, and the sprint move basically from 1 to 4 week as agreed. And at the end of the sprint, you have a sprint review. Now this is the time of demo. You need to show minimum viable product to the customer. You see, product backlog have all the requirement, and we know that in normal traditional methodology, this was triangle, but in agile methodology, the triangle is basically inverted. The triangle is inverted. The scope is like scope can be variable, but the time and cost is fixed. What does this mean? Like we have to give them a minimum viable product. If they ask for 100 features and we cannot deliver 100 feature in that time, we need to give at least some feature, maybe 10 feature or even a one feature that they consider as a minimum viable project. A very good example of minimum viable product. You see, I'm sitting on this seat. This seat has a neck support, this seat has a back support, and this seat is a like very flexible have a head. But what will the minimum viable product for that seat? Only the sitting portion must be there. If I have a sitting portion on this, I don't have a back support, neck support, this will be considered as minimum viable product. So we make a prototype, we make a minimum viable product, minimum marketable product, the product which can be marketable to the customer and customer check it. And if that meets definition of done, the customer accept it, so that product is accepted, and then customer can basically reprioritize the remaining product backlog. Here reprioritization, like according to the importance, we reprioritize it. It is like here in during the sprint review. This is very important concept. During the sprint, we don't add anything in the product backlog. The priority is that we don't add, but it's not a rule that you don't do. Product and owner can even add something, but he have if you want to add something into the sprint backlog that is produced in the spring meeting, he has to remove some of the work. There has to be trades off. So we need to discuss customer trades off, what can be prioritized and why it need to be prioritized. The customer says prioritize it, this is number one priority, we do that, but there is always trade off that we need to do. So we have a new reprioritized backlog at the end of sprint review. If the product is accepted, if it's not accepted, whatever the reason is, we have something new. Even the product is not accepted, we will do the work in next sprint. So what happened after this sprint end? Then we have sprint retrospective, or some people say that introspective. Here, what happened? Here, the team discuss each and everything. Here, team discuss what they have done and how they can improve. They look through their processes, their people, product, the business, culture. Basically, they look their self inside themselves and see how they can improve. So there are five steps of retrospective. The first is set the stage. First, the Scrum Master facilitated this. He set the stage uh, for the sprint to happen, because team size is normally less than 12 members. If there are more than 12 members, we divide the team, and we prefer the team members to be co-located, and we prefer that they have osmotic communication. What is osmotic communication? You see, if I'm sitting here and someone is sitting in front of me, or someone is sitting like within a distance of 33 feet, that is recommended by Scrum. they are sit- they can hear what I am talking on my phone, they can hear like what I am talking, so that the communication flows automatically to all the direction. That is called osmotic communication. So for that, now the Scrum Master is basically setting the stage. Is setting the stage so that communication can happen in a better way. The first step is set the stage. And set the stage, we have many tools and technique. The first thing is we write what like team is expecting from here. What teams is expecting. What is expectations of the team. And then we write who are the explorer, who are shopper, who are vacationer, who are prisoner. This is a technique that we randomly, like secretly, just like Delphi, we gave them like sticky notes to everyone and ask them, are you a explorer, like you want to improve your ideas, or you are shopper that you will take one idea, vacationer, you just are here in the retrospective to have the understanding, or you are a prisoner, you don't like to be here. So some of the techniques are like this. Then once the set the stage, then we gather data. How we gather data? There is an exercise known as timeline. In timeline, on below side, we can write emotions of team. Emotions of team can also be written. Here, basically, in the timeline, we write all the events that has happened in that time. So the people put sticky notes. Sticky notes are used a lot in Agile. So they put sticky notes on all the events and rate it as positive or negative according to their requirement, how they think it, and then they discuss these events in sprint retrospect. What went good, what went bad, and all those things. So once that they have gathered the data, they generate insights. They generate insights through brainstorming, utilize brainstorming as well as they can utilize Ishikawa diagram, the famous Ishikawa diagram, to see what has happened. If let's say this was an issue, they discuss that issue in detail. They can also utilize 5 why, the famous why. They can utilize that. So once they have gathered data, they have generate insights, they move to the next topic, and that is the one, two, three, fourth one, gather data, two, three, yeah, fourth, decide what to do. Now they have found the root cause, what was the reason of their like lagging progress. They decide what to do, and in order for that to decide what to do, they utilize smart goals, specific, measurable, or you can say small, measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound, or some people says relevant, time bound. They use a chart known as do more of, do less of, keep on doing, stop doing, something like that. They can change according to that. Once that is done, then we close the sprint. Then the sprint is closed and everyone give their feedback how the sprint went, what is their like, what are the positive thing, what is plus, what is minus delta, plus delta, minus delta, what what has helped them, what has hindered them, and what is their hypothesis. Then we also have a term return on time invested, or ROTI. If you are in Pakistan, India, then you know what is ROTI. So ROTI is calculated there. So 5 step of sprint retrospective, a very important thing in Scrum: set the stage, gather data, generate insight, decide what to do, and close the sprint and set the stage. The number one thing is to set the tone so the people are open to talk. And we have ESVP technique there: explorer, shopper, vacationer, prisoner. Then gather data. We have timeline exercise. We have triple nickel. I didn't mention here triple nickel. What is triple nickel? Like in 5 minutes, 5 ideas are generated and discussed. It's a team exercise. Then we generate the insights. We utilize fishbone diagram, Ishikawa, cause and effect, and we utilize 5 why, what has happened. We do brainstorming. Once that is done, we have found out the root cause. We decide what to do by utilizing specific goals, and stop doing, start doing, and we close the sprint by plus and delta, see how it has done, and what has helped, what has hindered, and what is the hypothesis. We also have the roti technique. So this is the major things that you need to know about Scrum. So agile is a mindset. I will finish this. Agile is a mindset, and you need to have the agile mindset. And the fundamental of agile mindset are his values, the 4 values. Working software is the ultimate thing. We accept the change, individual and interactions, or processes and tool. Customer collaboration. So these are the keys of agile that you need to get inside yourself. If you get any question that in an agile environment change is going to happen, you need to accept it. You need to see the value, because agile give frequent value. Frequent value. Providing value to the customer is key to agile. I hope this video has helped you, and I'm sure this can, like, if you can master this video, this can help you a lot in clearing your PMP exam. Because this Scrum, what I have just cleared with you, this Scrum is the most fundamental area of agile methodology. In the next video, I'm going to work on XP as well as on the values of Scrum, like values of Scrum which we didn't cover: courage, transparency, respect, focus, and commitment. Once again, courage, openness, respect, focus, commitment. So we have values of agile, we have principles of agile, then we have scrum. In scrum we have empirical, inspection, adoption, and transparency. Then we have five values: courage, openness, respect, focus, commitment. Then we know, like, a vision, product roadmap. Then we have a release, we have iteration, we have product backlog. In product backlog is a prioritized list of all the user stories. Then we have sprint backlog. From product backlog we get to sprint backlog. Then we have sprint goal, we have sprint planning meeting. Then we have daily stand up with their three questions. A servant leadership is there. We have information radiator with all the burned out shout, and our teams are co-located, preferably in osmotic communication where communication can flow easily. Then at the end of that we have sprint review after 1 to 4 weeks, so that customer can discuss with each other. We can give them minimum viable product or minimum marketable feature, so that we deliver early and continuously value. Then once that is done, we will have sprint retrospective, which have 5 stages. The purpose of sprint retrospective is to improve the processes, improve themselves, how they can work in the better and a perfect way. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope with this and with the journeys of processes, you can clear PMP exam. Bye bye. And till next time, stay legendary and stay happy.